many very prominent, very brilliant disciples of Freud's were bringing their own insights, their own theories, challenging somehow the thinking of Freud. And sooner or later they left the psychoanalytic movement, or they were expelled from it, and they became renegades. They created their own schools.
People like Wilhelm Reich or Carl Jung.
And particularly Carl Gustav Jung. And it's actually the work of these, or Otto Rank, for example, the trauma of birth. It's actually the work of these renegades that is now being confirmed by modern consciousness research. And it also is their work that seems to be converging with some of these advances in modern physics and in information theory and some other areas.
And you yourself and your work seem to be unique in the sense that you are synthesizing these divergent schools not only within psychiatry but also trying to integrate them with these other leading edge aspects in our culture going on in biology and physics today.
So I think what happened, you see, when we introduced first the chemical catalyst, LSD or some other psychedelics, and then particularly the breathing, the element that sort of activates the psyche and induces spontaneous kinds of powerful experiences, was that the experiences did not limit themselves to biography and to the individual unconscious, which according to Freud is all there is in the human psyche, and that people were having a whole range of experiences. And some of them seem to be very much Rankian. They're involved with the reliving of the birth trauma. Others, they're very Reichian. They're involved powerful bioenergies, dramatic kind of experiences, physical expressions of the process. But
we should just mention for our viewers that what Reich was talking about is that our character is sort of in our muscular armor, he used the term. Our personality is kind of locked into our muscles.
Yes, and also problems that we might have, emotional or psychosomatic, are not just somehow anchored in the mind, but they have real expression and manifestation in what he called the muscular armor.
And the energies of the body itself.
Yes, and then what probably came as a major surprise in this kind of work was confirmation of the major contributions of Carl Gustav Jung, that we don't have just individual unconscious, the way Freud was talking about it, but also collective unconscious, that in these unusual states we can tune in some sense into the heritage of all of humanity. We can experience, for example, elements of other cultures, racial, collective unconscious. We can tune into mythological, or what Jung called archetypal dynamics. We can experience mythology of other cultures that we, prior to this experience, had absolutely no intellectual knowledge of.
One of the major insights that Jung made that you seem to have confirmed in your work, Stan, is the concept of the synchronicity, that somehow when we are working at the deep and powerful level of the human mind, the archetypal level, that events in the external world come together by no known mechanistic manner to confirm these insights or to complement or enhance them.
Yes, that's one of the important aspects of it, you know. But I would say the more broader new insight here has to do with the nature of consciousness and the relationship between consciousness and matter, and somehow the role of consciousness in the universe. And I think synchronicity is just a very manifest expression of that. The synchronistic events are events in which something that is our intrapsychic happening, like a dream or a vision, suddenly seems to enter into a kind of playful interaction with elements of the physical reality.
It would almost lead one to conclude that the universe itself emerges from the mind.
Yeah, so that, you know, consciousness is somehow woven into the fabric of the universe. Consciousness is not something that emerges as an accident after billions of years of evolution, something that requires the central nervous system.
Not simply an epiphenomenon, as the materialists would say.
Of course, not human consciousness, but it's something that we can call cosmic consciousness or cosmic creativity. And the synchronicities are very, very fascinating phenomena that seem to suggest that there is a very different kind of relationship between consciousness and matter than the one that's suggested by mechanistic traditional science, you see, where there is a physical, objectively existing world, and somehow within that consciousness develops in the central nervous system and is just simply reflecting the objective world out there.
One of the things that you've reported in your work with these deep forms of therapy is what we might call past life regression, that people seem to relive previous lifetimes. Can you comment on that?
Well, that's one of the very important experiences, one from a whole category that we now call transpersonal experiences. And really every single phenomenon out of this category represents a fundamental challenge to our ordinary understanding of who we are and how consciousness is related to matter. But in this particular category, in the past life experiences, the person who is in a non-ordinary state of consciousness suddenly experiences some kind of very powerful sequence that seems to be happening in another culture, in another century. They would have some very, very involved role in this. For example, some of them can involve the situations of being wounded, being threatened in some kind of fundamental way, or strong emotions such as hatred or jealousy. As they are having these experiences, they would suddenly get access to new information about the culture or the historical period which they are experiencing. For example, related to architecture, costumes, weapons, social structure of a particular situation.
Things that they were not likely to have known?
Yes, that they quite definitely did not know. And in some instances even historical events. And what is also very important about the past life experience as a critical characteristic is that they have a sense of a personal memory. It's not just I'm witnessing something or I'm identifying with a person from another time, from another culture, but I actually once was that person. In other words, what I'm now experiencing is not the first time it's happening to me. I have already been through it. It happened to the same unit of consciousness. The only way I can describe this is compare it to the sense of memory that we have in everyday life, the basis of which we distinguish between, let's say, fantasies, daydreams, and real memories. If I ask you, what did you do last weekend? And you say, I went sailing on the bay, and I would now say, well, how do you know it really happened? Maybe you're just imagining it. You see, there's something within your psyche that's telling you that this particular content is supposed to be treated as a memory of a real event. And so the same kind of sense accompanies these past life experiences. There's another important aspect that is interesting for me as a therapist, and that is that they are eminently healing. I have seen situations where people had serious emotional problems, phobias, depression, asthma, and so on. And they would trace it back to this kind of past life situation, and then when they allow themselves to have a full experience of that reincarnation scene, then suddenly symptoms that had resisted, in some instances, years of traditional psychoanalysis disappear.
Would you say that the past life recollections have more healing potential than some of the other transpersonal experiences, such as encounters with deities and the like, that you would deal with?
I think every type of transpersonal experience has really a healing potential. And that is very important because even therapists who don't believe in the transpersonal should really be open enough to work with these experiences, because otherwise they are limiting somehow the range of the healing mechanisms, and they would not be as effective as they could be with certain kinds of clinical problems.